Hi, welcome to the 14-day weather forecast. The cold conditions that dominated for much of April have continued into the early part of May, but it has turned a lot more unsettled now. So does that set the theme for the next couple of weeks? I'm going to begin by taking a look at the picture across Europe and the North Atlantic. What we see here is 12 GMT on Wednesday the 5th of May. There's a cold northerly flow covering the whole of the UK. There's quite a few showers around too, and the white shading over the north there indicates that some of them are falling as sleet or snow. In the short term, the showery theme continues. There could be some longer spells of rain flirting with the south for a time, but it's as we head into the weekend that things begin to change. Here we are at 12 GMT on Saturday. We can see this deep area of low pressure centered in the Atlantic, and it's pushing heavy outbreaks of rain and strong winds northeastwards across the UK. It's not looking a very seasonable Saturday, unfortunately. Now, as that rain clears away for a time, some warmer air may well push into southeastern England and East Anglia, so we could see temperatures rising on Sunday, which I'll come back to that in a moment. However, during the early part of next week, the low pressure moves away northeastwards and cooler air once more returns southwards across all parts, and it becomes showery again. So that warm-up looks like being a very temporary feature of the weather. Just take a closer look at the rainfall sequence for Saturday. This is from the Meteo France model. It begins at 12 GMT on Friday the 7th. And what we see is it's rain pushing up from the southwest with some heavy outbreaks there shown by the yellows on Saturday morning. And drier conditions then return through Saturday, but later on, further outbreaks of rain push across southern and central areas. It's also, as I said, going to be windy. This is at 11 GMT on Saturday the 7th of May. You can see here the area of low pressure centered out in the Atlantic, but the UK is here, and the red shade in coastal counties predominantly is indicating the likelihood of gales. As I say, those are mostly looking like being in the coastal counties, but it will be windy everywhere, even inland. Temperatures are worth taking a look at because the air mass will be changing as that area of low pressure moves in. This is at 15 GMT on Thursday, the 6th of May. Blue shading there indicating cold Arctic air covering most of the UK, and the corresponding 2-metre temperatures are very disappointing for the time of the year. We can see them struggling into double figures in parts of the country. It's also worth just noting temperatures across France, Germany and into Poland there, also well below where they should be. Now move forward to Sunday the 9th of May. That's as the area of low pressure is moving in from the Atlantic. Look at these oranges being pulled up across France, Germany and Central Europe. That's warm air being pulled up ahead of the low pressure area, and some of it's just flirting with central and eastern parts of England for a time. What that does to 2-metre temperatures is in Europe, in mainland Europe, it sends them soaring upwards. So France, Germany, Poland seeing values as high as 25, 26 Celsius, taste of summer for them. In the UK, in the northwest, it's still chilly, but in the southeast and central southeastern areas, we've got that warmer air just fringing in there. So 2-metre temperatures are significantly higher, perhaps 17, 18 or 19 Celsius on Sunday. A brief taste of warmth before that cooler air returns. So what's driving all this? Well, the explanation often given is the jet stream, so I thought I'd bring up a few charts to show you how that's behaving. This is at 12 GMT, Wednesday the 5th of May. We can see the jet stream down here is quite strong, and it's well to the south of the time of year, really. I mean, the UK is on its cold northern side there. If we move forwards to Friday the 7th of May, it's a similar picture. You've got this deep area of low pressure, which has been steered by the jet stream. And then if we move a step forward to Sunday, we can see the deep area of low pressure there, and the jet stream there just buckling as it moves across. And finally, next Wednesday, so the 12th of May, there are some possible indications of high pressure centered over the Azores beginning to build northeastwards. And if that happens, you'd expect the jet stream to start veering off towards Iceland there, weakening. And that would often be the pattern associated with a longer spell of settled weather in the UK during the late spring, the summer months. It's something to look out for. It's just not really being shown here, but there are just some tentative indications of the Azores high pressure beginning to nudge things northwards. In terms of rainfall, based on the GFS sequence, a couple of charts here. The first one, so the left-hand side one is for days 0 to 5. It shows rain really in all of the UK. The amounts vary. The wettest conditions on this particular sequence, on this particular chart, are in the southwest and the north. The chart on the right is for days 0 to 10. So it's doubling the time period which has been looked at. And again, we can see the wettest conditions there over Scotland and the southwest of England and southern Wales. But the key takeout here is that all parts of the UK can expect to see some significant amounts of rain. I think farmers and growers who have had to put up with very dry conditions through April will be hoping this is correct. People who are hoping to sit outside, on the other hand, will be keeping their fingers crossed for it to be wrong. So just to look at some of the other deterministic models to see whether that rather unsettled picture which the GFS is showing has support or not. Here's the Canadian model at 10 days ahead. So Saturday the 15th of May. What we can see is areas of high pressure really centered to the southwest and up to the northeast there, with areas of low pressure being squeezed down across the UK. Changeable or quite an unsettled picture really is what it shows. Taking a look at the European model at the same time, we can see it's got areas of low pressure really been steered in from the Atlantic there. Once again, high pressure centered to the north and to the southwest. Fairly changeable or unsettled, not really going for a summary picture there. The ECMP, so the development version of the ECM model, fairly consistent. If anything, the signal for high pressure to be centered to the north on this one is stronger. You can see it up there, and also you've got the high pressure down towards the Azores, staying well away from the UK. Unfortunately, therefore, also quite an unsettled pattern. However, here's one which is slightly different. This is the GFS 06Z model. The sequence I showed at the beginning was from a GFS 00Z model run. So this chart's from a run which was initiated 6 hours later. What we can see on Saturday the 15th of May is that high pressure has indeed built northeastwards across the UK, potentially bringing the chance of a longer period of settled weather, maybe still showery down there in the southeast. It really would depend on how this high pressure orientates itself. But nonetheless, it gives the potential for a longer period of dry and settled weather, perhaps even a more summery flavour to things. So that's the output from the deterministic models. The ensembles, just to see what they are pointing towards. Here's the 16-day plot for London, showing air mass temperatures and precipitation. The air mass temperature profile there shows well below average values in the short term. So we've got that cold Arctic air. Then there's this little bump here, which is as that area of low pressure moves in from the Atlantic and pulls up warmer air ahead of it. But then you see temperatures dipping away again, and it's a pretty cool picture for a time. But by about the 15th of May, the range of outcomes there increases, becomes quite an uncertain picture. I've just annotated it as being variable. There are colder and warmer runs in the mix. It's pretty difficult to really pull out the trends other than to say that on balance it's looking quite average through that period from the 15th of May onwards. Taking a look at the rainfall there across the bottom, there's an ongoing risk of rain, certainly through the first 10 days or so. In fact, this area around here, the 8th and 9th of May, that's when that deep area of low pressure is bringing significant rainfall. You can see some big spikes there. Further on, there are some suggestions of the rainfall spikes becoming smaller and fewer of them starting to appear, possibly showing that high pressure will be having more influence and bringing drier intervals or interludes. If we jump up to Glasgow to see the view for the northwest of the UK, it's quite similar. Along the top there, the air mass profiles there aren't really many differences. In terms of the rainfall risk, it's generally a wetter picture through the 16-day period. For even later on, there are more rain spikes there showing than there were on the London plot. But the trend is possibly again towards somewhat drier conditions developing towards the middle of the month and beyond it. But it is quite tenuous. As I say, there's quite a spread of outcomes appearing in the output by that time. Just to take a look at the data table showing pressure forecast for York, again for the 16 days. Each column summarises one of those days. In the short term, it's all green and yellow and blue, so that's indicating average to low pressure. These blues columns here are where that deep area of low pressure moves in from the Atlantic. Most of the runs in the ensemble model are forecasting that consistently. As we head forwards, things do become more mixed. Once again, from about the 12th or 13th, there's a split there. You see some greens at the top, but there's an increasing number of oranges. And both the oranges are indicating higher pressure, the greens lower pressure. So there's quite a spread of outcomes. The general trend there is perhaps for pressure to be increasing for a time. Maybe at the very end it's starting to drop away again. But I think it does look pretty average. When I say the trend is for pressure to be increasing, it's increasing from a pretty low level because of that deep area of low pressure which has moved in from the Atlantic. So I'd say taking all this into account, it suggests a less unsettled picture as we head into the middle part of May, but not a settled one, just more mixed, closer to average. The 500 HPA height anomaly chart sort of backs that schema up to an extent. What we can see is there's a negative anomaly to the northwest of the UK and to the southeast. We've got a positive anomaly there shown by the oranges, the yellows to the northeast and to the southwest. So that's really suggesting that areas of high pressure will be centered to the higher pressure, will be centered to the southwest and to the northeast, sort of thing which was shown on a number of the deterministic model runs. And the UK is really sort of, to an extent, becoming in no man's land there. There's a slight positive anomaly, so slightly higher than average pressure is being forecast by this ensemble data. So once again, perhaps indicating later on, this is for days 10 to 15, I should have said. So we're looking in the last third of the forecast period. So it's suggesting perhaps the likelihood of drier conditions by then, or as I say, more average conditions developing. 2 meter temperatures, in the short term, they're very low. This is the Berkhamsted plot showing maximums for the next 16 days. Then they pick up. That's associated with the area of low pressure moving in and the warm air ahead of it. You can see there 1 or 2 runs are almost bringing values up to 21 Celsius, 70 Fahrenheit. They then clearly dip away again early next week. But in the longer term, there's probably a trend upwards there. It's not very marked. Again, the trend is upwards from a low point, so returning back towards the average. In fact, towards the end there, you can see a few runs above 21 Celsius. In fact, 1 or 2 even go above 25 Celsius, but they are just 1 or 2 out of the 33 or whatever being plotted here. So it's a very, very small minority. In terms of minimum temperatures, Again, for Berkhamsted, in the short term, we see this ground frost risk. Then temperatures trend upwards quite markedly for a short time, then they dip back downwards. And there are a few runs, even towards the middle of May, which are taking temperatures low enough for ground frost still to develop. They are in a small minority, though, so I would think by then the risk of frost is in southern Britain would be rapidly decreasing. Finally, take a look at the plot for Edinburgh. This one shows maximums. We can see a similar profile, low in the short term, then they increase to an extent, but they're still not great. Then they dip away again, and perhaps towards the end there's a trend upwards once more. Last time I showed one of these plots, the 21 Celsius 70 Fahrenheit line was off the scale at the top. This time at least it's made it onto the chart, and I think there's one run out of all of them which takes values up to 21 Celsius. So a tiny, tiny minority, but not to be completely discounted, just very unlikely to happen. If we look at minimums for Edinburgh again, what we can see in the short term is virtually all of the runs are indicating a ground frost risk. It then warms up, but then towards the middle of the month, there's a lot of the individual runs dropping below that blue line, which is the value that which below it indicates there is a chance of frost forming. So in the north, the frost risk potentially continuing into the middle part of May, decreasing but still substantial on some nights. So to summarise the next 14 days, week 1 begins cold and showery with a risk of nighttime frosts. During Saturday, May the 8th, wet and windy conditions spread northeastwards across most of the UK. It then briefly warms up in the southeast and East Anglia, but cooler and showery conditions quickly return to all areas. Week 2 starts chilly and showery, and through the course of the week it probably remains quite changeable. However, there are indications of high pressure beginning to have more influence. Therefore, the chance of drier periods starts to increase. Temperatures also, which begin from a low point, are likely to be edging upwards back towards the average, so the risk of frost increasingly becomes confined to the northern half of the UK. So there we have it. All in all, it's quite a mixed picture. It's a chilly and unseasonable through the first few days. Through the second week, things probably become closer to the average, although, as I say, there is pretty low confidence about the details by then. So thank you very much for watching this. If you found it useful, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Thanks now. Bye.